Now let's bring back our powerhouse panel with former special assistant to President Trump, commentary editor at the Washington Times, and Newsmax contributor Kelly Sadler, best-selling author and political analyst Mark Halperin, and Project 21 National Advisory Board member and radio host Christopher Arps. Good morning. Folks, let's go back to those Sunday shows. It was a blistering commentary on the Sunday shows this past week. ABC's Jonathan Karl criticizing the Biden administration, finding issue with what the White House sees as a reality in Afghanistan. Take a listen.
This remains very much a disaster, and one of the contributing factors here is when you listen to the president, he is saying things that simply do not comport with the reality that we are seeing with our own eyes, that you hear Ian Pannell describing, for instance. When he says that every American can get to that airport, there hasn't been an issue with that, that doesn't comport with the reality that you heard Ian describe. It also doesn't comport with the reality that the State Department has been issuing in guidance that we have seen from the State Department to Americans in Afghanistan.
Mark, we were talking about the poll numbers and the dramatic shift from among independents toward Republicans, and the president's numbers really tanking with independent voters. But talk to us about, in your view, what Republicans need to do here to ensure that they're saying and doing the right things for the moment, that they're setting the right tone, not getting too far out in front of their skis here.
Well, look, when we talk to most Republican strategists, they'll tell you that these dynamics are going to be only added to the historical dynamics if you're talking about the midterms. In the short term, though, I'd hope that everybody would be rooting for America to succeed.
That's right.
And that's the balance that is required by anybody who's in elective office. Sure, you compete in terms of politics, but the president's declining poll numbers are seen around the world, not just here at home. So, again, whether it's a Republican president or a Democratic president, I'm hoping people are focused on balancing the politics with what's good for America.
Yeah, absolutely. And China sees it, Russia sees it, Iran sees it, and certainly Islamic terrorist networks sees it. The Taliban are warning the United States that there will be, quote, consequences if the U.S. isn't out by August 31st. Kelly, do you think that this administration is going to be able to, A, either get everybody out, or B, negotiate a deal?
I certainly hope they're going to be able to get everyone out, but just the reports on the ground is that's not going to happen. I mean, this administration cannot say how many Americans are still in Afghanistan. A lot of people are talking about Kabul, but what about the rest of the country? They don't even have an accurate count. So if they don't have an accurate count, how can we declare mission accomplished without leaving any U.S. citizen behind? They should not be negotiating with the Taliban when it comes to evacuating U.S. citizens. There should be a humanitarian corridor that the military supports, bringing these citizens to the airport safely. I mean, we see France doing it. We see the UK doing it. Why are we negotiating with the Taliban in this instance, especially now that they've given us a red line that if we're not out there by August 31st, anything could possibly happen. It's time to take a leadership position and stop negotiating with terrorists.
Chris, I want to move on to a different topic with you. The FDA could give the Pfizer vaccine its full approval today, and that would be sort of shaving off pretty dramatically what the time that ordinarily you take to approve one of these drugs fully. One lawmaker is speaking out against it. Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin is questioning the need for this at this time. Many others are feeling the same way. Your thoughts as you're seeing kind of this rush to provide this vaccine with full authorization?
I think a lot of the trepidation that people have about this vaccine is that it was approved on an emergency basis. So me personally, I don't have a problem with this drug being approved. It seems a little quicker than it usually is, but again, I don't have a problem with that. Full disclosure, I received a COVID shot this weekend. I was one of the people that was not getting the shot. I was not anti-vax. I just felt like I didn't have enough information about long-time side effects. But I've had a couple of people in my personal life that have died the last couple of weeks due to COVID, this new variant. So I decided with my doctor that it was the best route for me to take the vaccine this weekend. And Mark will be happy about that, I know.
As will Donald Trump.
Kelly and former President Trump did encourage people this weekend to get the vaccine, but Senator Johnson's point is that he does feel like there has been a lack of transparency when it comes to a lot of reports of various side effects, and the government seems to be ignoring him entirely on this. They seem to say there's really nothing to see here. So how do you kind of, walk the line as to what to do in this circumstance?
Well, I don't want to be cynical, Tom, but I'm going to have a cynical take. Joe Biden's underwater in Afghanistan. His numbers are tanking on his COVID handling. The administration has openly said that they want more corporations and people to issue mandates, vaccination mandates. And the reason that they cannot do that is because they don't have FDA approval. So why is this approval coming today, potentially today, when it wasn't anticipated for another couple months? I feel that there's a political motivation behind here, orchestrated by the Biden White House and the FDA. If you recall, the FDA granted the emergency vaccination for Pfizer days after the election, after Joe Biden won. You can't help but be cynical in these types of situations. And I think this could backfire on the administration, because the last thing they need is people thinking that they're being political when it comes to getting a shot in the arm.
Mark, what do you think about that? And I've got about 30 seconds here. That there seems to be, and a lot of folks do feel this way, that there is a lot of COVID politics going on with how this is being rolled out.
I prefer to think of Kelly's position as skeptical rather than cynical. Chris, I'm so sorry for the losses you've had recently with those who've passed, and glad you've gotten the vaccine, not as a mandate, but as a choice you've made.
That's right.
I think that the politics of this have gotten very ugly, and I think the White House needs to do a better job of it. People are skeptical of the government on the left and the right, and I think that's the biggest obstacle to getting people vaccinated. And the lack of transparency in decisions like this, I think, contribute, unfortunately, to that lack of confidence that the government is being fully forthcoming with the public.
All right. I want to thank all of our panelists this morning. Great conversations today. Lots to talk about the remaining days this week.